can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I don't think that we can hear them though.
Can't hear anyone in the Charles River room, no.
No, we did
Oh,
recording came on and then it went away.
yeah, this is Bob. I can hear Tamitha and Tim, but not in the room. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Oh, Meryl, we just heard you.
You did.
Meryl!
We can hear you. All right, now we're on. Now we're on.
But maybe
Can
you
someone
need to
speak
invite
from-
yourself.
I think-
Yes, I think you need to invite
Yeah,
yourself.
speak
Okay.
To the, to you.
All right.
Just talk to Gal.
Okay, talk to you. Are you testing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so I'm not gonna repeat everything, and the folks
Sorry
here
about that.
can say this. One, the PBBC knew what it was doing, and in fact, refused to put on modular classrooms. If people recall, the original design from the school department was, we'll put on 2 modular classrooms. And that design got improved and changed so that it was a school, and there is room there to expand. So it's the second newest school building. What is the plan for it? To leave it empty? To use it as swing space? It's the second newest building. That doesn't make sense to me. It also does not make sense to me to put this school, to even be discussing at this very late date, moving a new building onto DeFazio. That idea has been tossed around and rejected a number of times. And for it to come up with like weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks before we're submitting something to the SBA, doesn't seem to me to be good planning. And what happened to the Field of Dreams? I mean, people in this town did a huge fundraising drive to put those fields in place. And we're just gonna, we're just gonna throw that away? And we made decisions about the DPW. What is this, like, there's like an avalanche effect, all of which I think needs to be analyzed. And I so appreciate everybody that's trying to work on this. I appreciate your time and effort. And the last thing I have to say is, it is shocking to me for us to be saying today that it would be a good idea to build a 1,330 student middle school. The documents we had back in 2000 and 2005 said exactly the opposite. The reason we didn't just pop on an addition to Pollard at the time was we said, we recognized all of the research, all of the experience to say, you don't want to have kids in a building that big. This is going to be really expensive. And I'm just not sure the value we'll have at the end of it. So, thank you for all of your efforts.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Any other comments from the public before we move on? Yes, please come to the,
Oh.
the podium, as it were.
If we need a full intro, I'm not sure if we do, but just to cover all the bases. My name is Kate Linsmeyer. I'm a town meeting member. I live at 7 Stonecrest Drive. I'm also a member of the ACT committee, which is the committee in town really encouraging a performing arts space, a right size auditorium, a right size theater to be used for the full community. So I wanted to thank you first for the very thorough website. I think that it's very transparent. I love that all the documents are included and accessible for everyone. As a committee member, though, of ACT, I'm really excited to see that there are 2 options on the table, which would include that auditorium for the full community. So, part of it though, and part of what I think really brings it to life is that the educational program, which is also on the website in full, which is quite the read. It contains a robust support for the curricular and the co-curricular performing arts. I think the phrase performing arts shows up 52 times in that document. It's really thorough. And the space that's needed, it's laid out in that program, and it will support the educational component, but it will also support the community needs. And I think that that's really nice to see it coming together in that way. So just a quick thank you. I appreciate everything that's been published and that we've been able to follow along with this in a very clear way. I look forward to see what's next.
Thank you, Kate. Any other public comments?
I saw someone's hand. Maybe not anymore.
Was it?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much for the public comments. Appreciate it very much. We'll proceed then to the approval of the minutes of the meeting of August 4th of 2025. They have previously been distributed to the committee. The chair is not aware of any comments having been made with respect to the minutes. And I'll ask one more time if there are any comments from the board with respect to the minutes of the August 4th, 2025 meeting. Hearing none, will the minutes having been presented to the committee and are unchanged from that point, we will consider the minutes to have been approved and they'll be filed accordingly. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the Pollard School renovation project. And for that, we'll recognize Hank.
Yes, thank you. And given that we have presentation by our design team, HMFH, I think we'll turn it over to them. That was recently distributed to the committee. I think we should, even though some of it is a reiteration of the last meeting, there is new information as well. So I'll turn that over to Matt and Tina.
Great, thank
Welcome
you.
again, as always.
Thank you. No. Let's switch to the next page. So the first slide is regarding the submission that's coming up, shortly. This is the table of contents for the PDP submission to the MSBA. The thing to note here is that this submission is really about the program. This is the preliminary design program. So a lot of these pieces that you see on this table of contents really have to do with the educational plan and the program that's going into the school. So you can see that the ed plan is 3.1.2. The next whole series of documents is the space summary. So that's the spreadsheet that lists every single room in the building and the square footage for that. And we've had to do that for the 7 different options. So there'll be 7 through 8 versus 6 through 8, and there'll also be the renovation addition is slightly different values and square footages. So we've put all those together. And then we basically have to go through and give sort of a narrative to explain any variances between the proposed program and the MSBA guidelines. They have a sort of set program that they have for every middle school in the state, and we have to talk about how ours varies from that.
And that should be demonstrated in the educational program why it's
Correct.
justified.
Yep. And then the next section is really about existing conditions. So this is us documenting everything that is Pollard, all of the deficiencies and what it would take to correct those deficiencies. And then we have a whole list of narratives on the site. And so our civil, our landscape went through and documented all of that information. And then there basically is the evaluation of options that we've presented to all of you, and we're going to go through those again tonight. And at the end, it asks for us to put forward 3 options that we want to study further in the PSR. That'll be the next section that we move into after we submit this. Any questions on that?
And
I think generally I'd like to remind everyone that no decision has been made as to which of these options
Nope.
are being chosen. So anyone that presumes that is not correct. We have to, by rules of working with MSBA, we have to look at all the options. Some of us around this table have preferences of certain options, others have preferences of other options. And so there'll be much discussion in the next few weeks about what that is, and with MSBA as well. So, but we have to present these many options to the MSBA, and that's why there are 7 of them.
Right. And we're also, they ask us to bring forward all the options that we look at in the PDP phase, even if it's just for record, so that you can compare cost and square footage sizes and all of that. So all these options are going to travel with us through this next phase through till December, when we have to make the big decision about which one is going to be chosen to move forward. Okay, any other questions? Okay, the next section, is the guiding educational principles. Just to remind you all that we went through a robust visioning session, with the school department and teachers and parents, and many people had, input in this. I'm not necessarily gonna read through all of these for you, but this took a lot of time and effort. And the educational plan that everyone has also been working on from the school department side is quite robust as well. So then the next slide looks a little bit backwards to remind everybody of the master plan sequence of events. So if you look at number 1, which is the Pollard Middle School project, that is first in the sequence that was chosen by the PBBC. So Pollard would get renovated or built new. The next step is to move the 6th grade from High Rock into that new building, the unified 6 through 8. When they move out, High Rock is renovated with space improvements so that the Mitchell students can move into High Rock, and that gets used for swing space while the Mitchell school is completed. And then at the end of that, then there's redistricting that happens to make High Rock into an elementary school. Anything to add to that?
And that was preferred option selected by the school committee during the school master plan, because it was the most rapid plan to address all of the deficiencies within Pollard and Mitchell. And it did not require the construction of temporary modular classrooms as swing space, whereas all of the other options did require a longer period of time and were more expensive.
And I think also allows for a smaller Mitchell or a right-sized Mitchell, that we can make decisions about down the road.
It gave us the clarity to do that, whereas we wouldn't have had that otherwise, if there was no place for that. And Mitchell area is one of those areas that does not seem to be growing demographically. It's declining a little bit in terms of areas of the town. So it'd be silly to build a school that had extra sections, when in fact that section of town is actually decreasing and we've got a better profile of building. So, but this gives us the opportunity to do that.
Okay. So then the next set of slides is taken also from the master plan, and it looks at the undersized spaces as compared to the MSBA guidelines, both in Pollard as well as High Rock.
And those guidelines have evolved over the past 20 years since the construction of the High Rock School.
Any questions on those? Some of this is just a refresher for everybody, so we don't want to spend a ton of time on it. The next slide is the schedules, and we've talked a little bit about how the renovation addition option, which is the top line, is going to be a longer construction phase than a potentially new option on either the Pollard or the DeFazio Park. So the students would actually get in to a completed building in August of 2030 for one of the new options versus 2032 of December of 2032 for the renovation addition options. And then the next few slides are about the options, and Matt's gonna walk you through those.
And again, these are nothing new. They're just kind of to help remind you about what each of the options are. You can see them together as a set. But this all leads up to the new information today, which is the cost information that we'll share with you after getting through the option slides. So the first option out of the 7 is what's called the base repair option. This is a required thing to study by the MSBA. And it doesn't bring the building up to the educational plan necessarily. It's really just about what if you just renovated the building to bring it up to code today. And necessarily that means this doesn't consider a 6 through 8 enrollment option because there's no room in the existing Pollard to do that. We do show that the existing modulars attached to the Pollard School would be replaced under this option because those are at the end of their useful life.
Replaced by modulars or?
By identical modulars for the purpose of the study. And that's reflected in the cost that you'll see for this one. Second option is one of the two addition renovation options. It's the 7th and 8th grade enrollment configuration. And you're seeing two colors in the building footprint. The solid yellow color are new wings that are constructed in phases. They're 3-story wings. Hatched, white and yellow portion is existing areas that are to be renovated. And those include most of the office spaces, the media center, cafeteria, the nurse, the auditorium, music and art spaces, and the 2 gymnasia. In its final configuration, it will have new parking and driveways shown around it and a rebuilt playfield to the south of the renovated and addition building.
Modulars gone from.
And the modulars get torn down in this option because we're providing enough room.
That restated.
It's reflected in the cost estimates, but yeah, for the purpose of making it clear here, yeah, it's the modulars are gone. This next option is just a variation on that as a 6 through 8 enrollment. And so instead of the 2 new wings, it requires 3 new wings, roughly in the same footprint of the wings that are there today, plus the additional wing to the northeast. In this option, the new building is completed before the 6th graders from High Rock are moved in. That allows swing space to be built into the phasing of the project. And the same site configuration with more parking according to the higher number of staff and visitors. For the first new construction option on Pollard, this is the 7th and 8th grade enrollments. It's a 3-story building built to the south of the existing building, which you can see dashed in the white outline. That building remains in operation during construction while the new one's built fairly close by. The area of the site would be closed off to the public and to students. And for safety, the contractor will own essentially the whole southern half of the site during construction. This building will be completed and then the existing Pollard building would be torn down and new fields would be constructed in their place. We think we can get an additional field beyond the one that would be rebuilt from what they have today.
And are both of those fields included in cost estimates?
Yes.
Thank you.
And the next option is just a variation on that, which accommodates the entire 6th through 8th grade. The difference here is that it's a 4-story school building instead of a 3-story school building. The area of the site that's left over from where the existing building is today is fairly constricted. So the whole purpose of the exercise is to explore what you can do in a compact footprint, which is why we went with a 4-story building. Same deal, existing building gets torn down. Here, the 6th grade would move in at the completion of the new building, and High Rock would then be freed up to serve as the swing space for Mitchell.
And this would also require because it's a 4-story school building, it would require a zoning bylaw change to accommodate that.
And anything, because I noticed that's very close, both of these options very close up to the train tracks, is there, what's required there?
I'm sorry.
The train track, I was asking about the train tracks, what
Right.
the impact is with having a building so close to the train tracks, is that a zoning thing also, or?
No, it's, we're out of the right of the way of the MBTA, train track, so as of right, you can build it from that, perspective. What it does mean is that, we have to take extra care in the detailing of the design of the building envelope to make sure that, the exterior noise isn't, disruptive to the learning going on inside. The biggest piece of that is, has to do with the operable windows, because you can design a really great acoustic wall on your building, but as soon as you open a window, it doesn't do anything for you, so it may be consideration where we don't have operable windows, or at least on that part of the building, and we would design the mechanical system to ensure that you have, something like 100% outside air.
I think there was a question last meeting, if there's any way to move that building further away from the train tracks.
Yeah.
You looked at that and it's not feasible.
No, this is, that would be something to study in the next phase. So right now, we're just seeing what fits on the site and gathering feedback like that. In about a week, we submit this to the MSBA. So the next step after that would then be to kind of step back and say, okay, what is it we want to look at more? And so the ability to have a phased new construction project on the Pollard site that provides more distance from the train tracks is certainly something that makes sense to study. And then the last option, the two variations on the DeFazio side of the site for 7th and 8th grade enrollment. We're seeing an area in the DeFazio parcel that's partially taking over what's the parking lot today and partially taking over the Little League baseball field. It's a 2-winged building at 3 stories. And it has new parking and drop-off areas to the south of it, which would also serve as the parking for the DeFazio complex. In both of these configurations, we're looking at not going beyond the demarcation between the DPW use of the parking area, the laydown yards that they have today. We're leaving that in place. We're keeping the new building and the new site amenities to the north west of that. This option then has the removal of the existing Pollard school building and rebuilding fields and open space in its site, including the top lot, which would be relocated to the Harris Ave side. And we believe we could get up to 3 play fields on the Pollard side, which is a net increase of 1 play field over the 2 sites as they exist today.
And the cost estimate for this and the previous design options, the cost includes the rebuild of the DeFazio,
Yes.
Pollard
So
site.
all of the, everything that's being drawn is reflected in the estimates, all the scope.
So this actually has the most land.
Most open space,
Most
if you
open
look at that,
space.
yes,
Okay.
correct. And even though the parking on the DeFazio side has a more intense use because it's serving both the school during the day and then fields after school times.
Okay.
But it also distributes some of that parking because we're able to reuse parking or build new parking on the Pollard side of the site. And so there's some benefit to distributing some of the intensity of cars arriving for the playfield uses. Then the next option is very similar. It's the same area, there's some of the footprint, but it's for the 6 through 8 enrollment. And so instead of the 2 wings, it's a 3-wing building, and again, 3 stories for this option as well. There's a slightly more parking associated with the larger staff and visitor needs. Any questions before I move on to the costs discussion? So as part of
Sorry, I
the,
did have one question. Can you just go through, I know you said this, and different people have heard it in the past, but can you just go through again what the disruption is in terms of the addition renovation? Because that would be obviously a longer timeline, but also a longer disruption to the fields, is that?
yes, it's a longer timeline because it takes many steps to achieve a completed building that moves students around and builds new wings one at a time. And the disruption would include the loss of play space on the Pollard side during that construction area, because that's what the contractor will need to do their work. And it means that students would likely have to use the DeFazio fields during that time frame, potentially going through the tunnel to access them. We think that in addition to the using open space on the DeFazio, on the Pollard side of the site, they may need additional space, especially for contractor and subcontractor parking. And that could be accommodated by taking over an additional field on DeFazio, or doing it in the parking lot at DeFazio with buses. There's some things that need to be thought through, that there are impacts to DeFazio even in this option.
Which for the ad run will be multi-year,
Yes.
multi-year.
Correct.
Okay.
You would
Thanks.
still have the same kind of disruption for the new on Pollard too, but it would be a shorter time to your point. Yeah,
By like 18 months.
yes.
Thank you.
Yes, and I think it's also important to note that although there was a jurisdictional land swap that occurred in 2016, when the school master plan, or when the Hillside School was being studied, which eventually the Hillside became the Sunita Williams School. But in order to reconfigure any of the options at DeFazio, a similar jurisdictional land swap would be necessary between the school committee, the select board, and Parks and Recreation Commission. And likewise, it's possible that a Chapter 97 approval through the state legislature would be required.
Something that we developed earlier and we've been showing around and getting feedback from various groups is this matrix. And the intent of the matrix is to help people come to decision points in their mind, looking at the 7 options which are arrayed across the top: the base repair, the 2 addition renovation on Pollard, the 2 new construction on Pollard, and the 2 new construction on DeFazio. In comparing those against the sets of goals that we've also developed as groups under educational considerations, facility and sustainability and cost considerations, and community goals. And we've gone through and kind of taken a stab at assigning a rating of 0 through 3, with 3 being the most advantageous to each of them, color coded according to this key up above. And this is our 3rd draft of this matrix, taking into account some additions for the criteria and making adjustments to the weighting of some of the numeric scores. And we've tallied them up at the bottom, and you'll see on the next slide, when we look at the 7 options compared to the estimated costs those weighted options are set up above so that you can kind of see them together. So I will say, to begin with, that this is the very earliest stage of the project. Its focus is on the program and on fitting on the sites. But it's part of that is to start to get a grasp on what the relative cost between the options is. We've gone through this with our cost estimator and the second cost estimator hired by the town. They are really taking a very high level look at this. This is not, we're giving them a set of construction documents and they're pricing each component. They're really thinking about school buildings that are being built in this area at this time. How much are they coming in at today as a cost per square foot? With taking into account some of the special considerations of this project. But it's very limited, so the point here is, don't get too hung up on the numbers. The most important thing to take away is the relative cost between the projects to each other. At the next phase, we will go through at a slightly more detailed level than this and have another round at the cost. And then at each milestone from there, we'll do it again, getting more and more detailed as we go.
Yeah, I have a question, just looking at the square footage cost. I think it is important to understand some of the differences, because if you look at the square foot price, when you add sixth grade in completely new, a much higher cost than just doing 7 and 8. So, $50 to $100 a square foot, but just in order of magnitude, what are some of the variations in that pricing? Not down in the nitty gritty micro, but what might be driving a higher cost of doing 6, 7, and 8 versus 6 and 7 new build? And I'm finding the same trend in the ad reno. I would think that if you're doing all in, you probably are less expensive because your infrastructure shared. But just out of curiosity, is there anything that's driving some of that higher cost?
Well, it's purely square footage. You can see,
Yeah, but more square footage shouldn't drive up the square footage.
the costs that you're seeing at the bottom
Are in
are
millions.
not the cost per square foot. They're measured in millions. That's what the M stands for.
Yeah, so
So
if you take 331 million divided by 254, just for giggles, you're coming up with, so I'm just curious, is there any components that really drive some of the factors that we'll get into down the road in the estimation?
part of the difference that you'll see in the options has to do with the amount of site work
Yeah,
that's involved.
the ad reno, I totally get that.
Right.
But in the new ones, it's kind of seems, the more all in you go, the higher the square footage cost. Per square foot.
I think it's important to note that these are total project costs.
Yeah, I get that.
And to get to the total project costs, we took the estimated construction costs and multiplied it by 1.3.
It's a markup.
And so that markup accounts for all the soft costs. Maybe David, you want to elaborate?
Yeah, it will go through bank costs, administrative costs, contingencies.
So basically your admin costs, soft costs are going higher on.
And as well as FF&E, technology, borrowing costs, all that goes into your soft costs.
It's all based on square footage of the building. The estimators went through and made sure and tried to make sure the scope that they were looking at were the same. We had a meeting to go through and make sure that everyone's carrying about the same cost. So these estimators coming in with their own square.
Sure, but you see where I'm coming from is like, if you're looking at 2 wings and third wing, you just got more square footage on the base rate. Yes, there's a range here, but I think when we get into the cost estimation, I think it's gonna be important to understand what's driving that, because I wouldn't expect the per square foot cost to go higher if it's all in. Meaning that, cause you got infrastructure costs, you got electric, you got HVAC, all that's shared in the same building. Yes, you got more capacity to heat, but what I'm saying is, it's just an additional. Right, see where I'm going? So I think it's just, when we get to it, it'd be important to understand that.
Comparable though, if you divide. Pretty close.
I get
It's really
1350, I
pretty
get
close.
1300, I get 1380, so just in general, take the high.
Right.
So I appreciate your point. It would be nice if we showed per square foot costs in the future, just because I have to do math this. The other part about this from a scoring point of view, and tell me if I'm wrong, and I'm fine if I'm wrong, is this is looking at this project as one site, but there are implications to the town of expenses that each decision we make here creates on other buildings. And seeing that holistically at some point helps. And, or I just think informs us, it may not change our mind on what we should do, but you know, it's the long range issue for the town. So I think that's only when I look at this, sure, it's great, everything's green if we do everything we want. But if we do everything we want, that means we are doing 2 other buildings too, right? You know, so.
Yeah, and as a school committee member, we're really steeped in the school master plan. And, you know, one of the things that we spend a lot of time thinking about is, you know, okay, if we just do a 7th and 8th grade building, what does that mean? You know, it means an addition at High Rock, small, but an addition at High Rock. It means that when we build Mitchell is a bigger school and it's necessarily further down the line, and it's possible that it doesn't get any reimbursement. It requires swing space for Mitchell. Whether that is able to be at the old Pollard or someplace else, you know, would be decided at that time, but there are additional costs to solving the school master plan issues, which include condition and space at Pollard, condition and space at Mitchell, and space at High Rock. So, you know, solving all those problems, if you think about, we're gonna solve those problems in the next 20 odd years. You know, if you wanna be standing in 2045 and thinking, you know, where have we, you know, what does it look like to spend money the most wisely? Bigger now in the project that's being reimbursed.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact numbers. I think, you know, we'd probably have to go get everything estimated again, but, you know, just intellectually, as you start thinking through the other costs of not doing 6 through 8, you end up at a.
And I'm not
worse
for
place.
anything, I just think it's another part of the decision process,
Yeah.
even if it's not a cost issue. It's the implications of
Exactly.
this decision, the implications for the future are X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So, and I wanna go back to Stuart's point is, I would think that, you know, if I'm adding an extra 100,000 square feet or whatever it is, 50,000 square feet, that my per square foot cost would go down because I don't have to build another, you know, boiler room or anything that there'd be more efficiencies there, but again, that's obviously the estimation.
I'm calculating them that they are going down.
I just for giggles, 331 divided by 254. What do you get? 1303. If you take the 270 divided by the 199, you get 1360.
13.5.
I'm just saying, it adds up, and it's just, again, efficiencies, we're all talking, when we get, we'll save it to the estimation page, but I would be interested to understand if there's any macro dynamics when you add different components. So if you have 7 and 8, and you add a 6, maybe 6 requires a certain type of science room that I don't think exists. That would be the kicker, that's all.
I would expect to see the cost per square foot go down.
You just said low, 1.35 to 1.30.
Yeah, we can take it offline.
Yeah.
You're getting more bang
I'm just saying, they're not an equal square footage cost, put it that way.
You should be getting more bang for your buck
Yeah.
if you're
Right.
building the 6th grade, because you don't have to build a standalone cafeteria, standalone gym. You've already got your, like you said, your boiler, your, you know, all of that is in there, so.
That'd be great if we just show those numbers like that.
Speculate at it. Then I would
Yeah.
have to mess up the numbers.
So like we explained, this is actually 2 separate estimators, right? So there's 2 separate people looking at this. So we decided
Yeah.
to give you the range, just so you could see,
Absolutely.
you know, how much spread there
As
is.
you
at
can
this
imagine,
point.
just to belabor this point.
Yeah.
We're in the easy stage. These numbers are high level, but the next stage is gonna really start. All I'm trying to do is preempt a little bit of that thinking.
Correct.
Because we need some of that detail. We've been through this 100 times
Correct.
through the committee.
Yep.
But I think this one's extremely complex and
Yeah.
we're just beginning to see the edges of the town coming into this conversation.
Yeah,
Just better be
we
prepared.
agree. And like I said, MSBA is going to have us carry all these forward into the next phase, but we do need at some point the three that we want to study in more detail
Yeah.
than, you know, the others. So this group and the school committee will have to make that
And
decision.
what's the timing on this?
It's a good question. This is our last meeting.
Well, there's one more meeting on the 2nd of September. And it'll be, the school committee will meet first at Broad Meadow. And having looked at the educational program, you'll be voting the approval of the educational program. And then recommending to the school building committee the submittal of the BDP to the MSBA. That'll be followed by a meeting. It'll be a breakout meeting with the PBBC. Breakout because there's a number of other projects that PBBC needs to address. And we'll be voting the submission of the PDP. Coming back to then analyze in greater detail, I think that from the school department's perspective, probably only studying 6th through 8th grade options would be your preference. But that would be something that you'd want to be talking about early in PSR.
But that decision doesn't get made on the 2nd.
Yes.
No,
Well,
the second is,
we do, for the report, we do need 3 options that we would like to study further in the PSR phase. So you could decide that one of those is a 7 through 8 option, potentially, or not.
Or not. Okay.
I mean, does it make sense to look at the Ad Reno 6 through 8, the Newick Pollard 6 through 8, the DeFazio 6 through 8? And push all of those forward in the next phase? Or does it make sense to take the Ad Reno off the table at this point because of the extremely long time that it's under construction and what that does to the master plan? And if that's the case, is there a 7-8 that you would put forward?
I think it's important to note that when you reflect back on the school master plan, if the 7th and 8th grade option is selected, either on the Pollard site or at DeFazio, future phases and future projects will require the use of DeFazio for at least for temporary modular classrooms. Because once you take High Rock out of the equation as an elementary school, you can't build Mitchell, a new Mitchell on the Mitchell site without moving the students off the site. And so that at that point, then the only other option presented to the town is to build modular classrooms at the DeFazio site. Which was what was anticipated in the 2016 jurisdictional transfer.
Before we move on, any questions from those who are online? Questions or comments? No? Okay.
Just one last slide to kind of sum up some of the process behind how the numbers came to be. The first sentence here is kind of reiterating what I was talking about earlier, that the purpose of this from the estimating standpoint is really to understand the relative cost between options. And don't put too much weight on these as final costs for any individual option. The total project cost, that's the number that we're showing you, which is different than the construction cost, different than a bid can be, because it includes what we call the soft costs. Those soft costs, as Hank mentioned, at this stage, we're just using a multiplier and we use 1.3 on top of the construction costs. The construction costs themselves consist of the direct construction costs as estimated, assumption that this is being done as a construction manager at risk project, and that includes the fees of a CMR. Includes escalation to the schedule that we showed you earlier. And a design contingency, which is appropriate to do at such an early stage. The range of costs that you've seen are established between the estimator of record, our estimator for the design team, and the check estimator, the one hired by the town. So that's the lower and the upper numbers. Our estimator was the lower one in each case. And those estimates were reconciled in a meeting between the two estimators. They did adjust their numbers that they came into that meeting with. There were some ups, there were some downs, but that represents reconciled estimates. And they're about 6% to 9% apart across the options.
And there are many variables that'll come into play. We have no clue about tariff impacts. We have no clue about cost escalation between now and midpoint of construction. But it's also important to note that while we've carried CMR, construction manager at risk, through all of those, that if the town were to go design, bid, build, there could potentially be some savings compared to CMR. But if we're building on Pollard, I think the recommendation from this committee has been to focus only on construction manager at risk. And at this stage, we also wanted to be able to level that playing field so that the numbers weren't factoring that in.
But that's still a decision that we have to make. We may want to, for a lot of reasons, choose CMR at risk. Even if it is a new building at phase 3.
Yeah.
That's a decision that the committee has to make, and the way I look at it, there are a lot of reasons on both sides.
Agreed, and that is a busy site, so it's
There are
also
There
occupied.
are a lot of issues that
Mhm.
it would be easier to manage the entire project with CMR at risk. But
Yeah.
again, we have to make that decision.
Did we decide last time that was an October decision, November decision?
Sometime this fall, after we submit this,
Yeah.
we're
I
gonna
thought we
address
talked about
that.
October.
We're gonna address that issue.
Yeah.
Between now and the end of the year, and we don't have to wait for MSBA to do that. We just decide to do that.
And it would be good to have them on in schematic design, which would be next year's design phase, to do estimating and just to work with us.
We need to get approval for it, but.
Yes.
Haven't had any trouble getting approval for these things in the past. As long as we have good reasons.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. We also distributed a summary of comparison between construction manager at risk and design, bid, build. And then there was a separate memo that we just received from town manager about the potential impacts on DPW and on the DPW master plan. And I think we discussed the primary points. By saving the DPW yard, they would be able to continue their current operations, but they would need to be directing traffic in and out of the 470 entrance, which is already congested. The DPW master plan, Roy, to your point about affecting other could be constructed as currently laid out in phase 2 and 3. There's a question about having the adjacency of a school to that DPW yard and those concerns, both from a traffic point of view And during the jurisdictional transfer of 2016, the only piece that was not transferred was the, what's known as parcel 74 over on Greendale Avenue. So I don't think any of those concerns are insurmountable, but clearly there would need to be new fencing installed and proper landscaping separating those two functions.
Hank, I want you to know that the CMR versus design bid build analysis was terrific, very well crafted. I'm not sure who drafted it, but it was very well done. It was very, very helpful. Thank you very much.
Can I ask one more question from the designers? As I go back and look at new on Pollard and versus new on Ephasia. So we're really looking at like a super tall building, 4-story building, if we're talking 6 through 8. Versus more of this like octopusy design. I'm sure you have some official word for it. Do either one of those, I know you spent a lot of time with our educational program, and have heard our desire to, continue with building the 6th grade community as one community. Does one design favor the other, or can all of these things be worked out equally in either? How magic can you be?
It's a good question.
We're creative. We hope so. So even a 3-story building really lends itself nicely to a 3-grade middle school, for obvious reasons. Although you don't necessarily have to do 1 grade per floor. You can do 3 wings and have 1 grade per wing, or you can mix it up. But even in the 4-story version, we've worked out kind of on our napkin sketches a division that has the 6th grade on the ground floor. So it's kind of the entry level condition. It's the easiest transition into the school. And the mixture of the 7th and 8th grades would be on the upper 3 floors. So there's ways we can be creative about it.
Great, thank you.
And
And I think.
Yeah.
Thing that bothers some people about the size of this building is, if you look at the location, it appears to be a 3-story building.
The one on Pollard.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah,
So-
even in its 4-story configuration from Harris Ave, you're only seeing the top 2
That's
stories.
correct.
Yeah.
So it's from a massing point of view in the neighborhood, which is a very important issue, I think. It doesn't, the mass is kind of hidden back away from Harris Avenue,
yeah.
more toward the railroad tracks than toward Harris Avenue. And so you visually, from the 3 pieces that are neighborhood, you see a 2-story building.
I too recognize a member of the SBC, John Conlon. Yeah.
Just 2 questions. Richard, first, how do we get access to the estimating information with respect to what the hard costs and the soft costs and where we can take a look at that and kind of poke it? The public can take a poke at that, is my first question. And then my second question is, can you explain to us what theater or theaters are carried in these options? Vis-a-vis either seating or square footage, or are they the same in each of the options, or are they different?
And to give that to the
Yeah,
professionals.
I mean, on the first question. I think digging into the details of the cost estimate is premature. At this stage.
It's public information, right? I mean, so where can we get that information?
We're giving you that information here. If you need more detail than that, it really is a little, my opinion, a little premature to dig into the details of that, but I don't see any reason why we couldn't supply that. If we wanted to, I think it probably is not the right thing to do at this point, so.
I mean, in the words of our estimator, this, usually he doesn't even have a detailed estimate at this point because It's so very limited in scope and what he can see. And so typically, even MSBA doesn't ask for the estimates at this point, because they know that really we're talking about the program, finding the right program for your building, making sure that program fits on your site, and that's what they want to know. And what, you know, 3 versions of that are you gonna study further in PSR? And that's when you get into the cost estimates.
I guess what I'd rather see in the spirit of visibility and having that information available. If you have a few people, you could probably have a cost estimator sit down with you and go over how they develop the cost estimate. And why it's to be looked at from a relative point of view at this point. I think that would make more sense. And wait until the next level of cost estimate comes out, because that's really where we're gonna get into.
We could certainly give construction cost to go with the soft cost numbers, so that you could understand where the hard number is coming in versus the 1.3 multiplier.
And is the 1.3, does that include FF&E?
Yes.
Does that include the
Yeah.
owner contingency?
Yeah.
And so it's those types of details that,
Yeah, and
the
that,
finance committee would like to see, and I expect the public would like to see as well.
Let's see if we can, John, let's see if we can offline, work out answers to your questions, and you talk to people directly. I think we can do that. And I don't think it's a good idea at this point to release this level of detail to the public, because most people aren't gonna understand. You know, what people do, and I'll be honest here, they take numbers and run with them. And it's too early to do that and to allow the town to do, we've never done it as a committee. We've been very careful not to do that. So we're more than happy to try to arrange a meeting, either a Zoom meeting or an in-person meeting, to discuss how we got to these estimates at this point. Be happy to do that. Okay, and for finance committee. And they're all.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you said that they, looked at comparable construction.
they do.
So is there like a brief methodology that they use that might be helpful?
We could get something for you that would help explain that. But they are, like, our estimator of record is the one that we work with on all of our projects, and he probably estimates, I don't know, 75% of the school projects that are going on right now. So he's constantly getting bid results in from projects. He's probably estimating, I don't know, like 20 projects right now at the same time. So he has a really good understanding of not only our work, which is really helpful since he works with us all the time. He understands, like, oh, when they draw this, it means this, or, he's reading our narratives and understanding things in there. For example, like, they're gonna put tile on the walls because they always protect the walls with tile. So he's got those kind of things going on in his brain, but
Mr. Chair, I'd encourage us as a committee to try to work with the finance committee to provide them some background and especially the assumptions that were made at this stage. And involve Hank and the cost estimate or whoever you represent as part of your team that does that. And I think we can get to the answers you're looking for at this point. Because you're not looking for that much detail. You're not gonna find it anyway. But you're not looking at that much detail, but you wanna know assumptions, you want to know how does this fit in with existing projects.
I think it's important to know if 300 million did end up being 400 million, didn't know what the 300 million space on, so.
I couldn't agree
That's
with you
that's
more.
kind of, that's what's right.
It's important that FinCom be a partner with us on this, so we can get the best price, the best school building for the best price.
Sharon, how about this?
So at this point, they're barely called cost estimates, they're probable cost analysis. So even calling it an estimate, as it was presented, it was really look at them compared to one another with the information. So even just the name cost estimate, we're not even there yet. So it's very broad brush, wide range. There's so many unknowns about it. And that's what we're trying to communicate, that these are not the be all end all by any means. It's just comparing them to one another.
I think, if I may, I think as a committee, we're learning in the last 6 months, this project particularly, the complexities of it, more information we put out there in the right context, the better. So I'm not suggesting that we go out and put an estimate in front of people and say, this is how we estimate.
Right.
What I think is important is people have to understand what it takes to build these buildings. There's hard costs, there's landscape costs, there's electric, there's plumbing, there's FF&E. The education programs, we have categories, smaller projects, when we go through the estimation. I think we should start thinking about the website and sort of start to put up a framework, you mean brought up, Rowan, where the methodology and the methodology and the components within that is what starts to become the pieces to understand. So as we start to go through the estimation, they start to see what starts to impact that instead of just this number out there. So if it's the hard cost, the landscape, the soft cost, the FF&E, the technology, those 6 or 7 buckets that we always see in our sheets all the time, I think we should put that framework up and we start to say, you know, these are things that we have to consider. And as we go through the estimation process, we start to illuminate more of that. I think that would bring everybody on board, and I think it was said earlier tonight that the website is helpful, and that's exactly what we intended to in the chairs meeting and everything else. So I would propose that we start thinking about how we put a framework up to allow people to understand what are the components of this.
At this stage.
At this stage, what we know about it, and then, you know, what are factors that we
Certainly
would.
from a communications point, I agree with you. And I think it's also important, I can really respect the issues that FinCom is. And really, I think whatever we can do to help FinCom understand that this really is a partnership. That we're trying to do the right thing for the town, as well as build the best buildings we can. The sooner we can do that, and the more we can keep you on board with that discussion and answer your questions as we go along, the better off we are. So I think it's with that intention that I'm more than happy to arrange such a meeting and try to get you the answers you want.
I do want to address the second question, John, or did you want to address the second question first, or?
No, of course, I'd like to hear an answer.
Yeah, it's about the auditorium.
So in the repair, it's going to be a repair of Wood Center, exact seating that's there, which is a little bit less than a class size. In the ad reno, we were gonna look at basically redoing the seating layout to maybe get 50 more seats in there, so close to 500 seats potentially. We're not sure all that can fit, but that's what we think. In the new, at either of the sites, we're looking at a 750 seat theater for both of us. And then we had some additional information of what it would be to go up to 1,000, but right now it's the 750.
Thank you.
All right, anything else, Hank, at this point, before we get to the invoices and?
We appreciate all the input and we will try to respond. The detail is in the 250-page document that you've put together about existing conditions and an outline of each option for MEP in each system, but we'll try to abstract that and put together an outline framework, as you mentioned, describing what is included in the cost estimate.
Cost analysis.
Cost analysis, cost analysis, opinion of probable cost.
Can I ask one quick question? Sorry, this is a follow-up. Chris Gerstle, Chairman of the Park and Rec Commissions. Will there be any other chairs meetings or joint meetings again? Like I know that we were together 2 weeks ago and we've had new plans that have been delivered to us since Friday and tonight. Will there be another opportunity for the Park and Rec to sit down with the PBBC and the committee that's looking at the schools to give more input?
There is a chairs meeting scheduled, I believe, for September 10th.
I think, yeah.
And you should be receiving an invite to that from Katie.
But you're submitting to the MSBA before that, right?
Yes, but it's the program.
But it's 3 choices.
7. It's all the 7.
It goes in as 7, but we say these are probably the 3 that we'd like to look
But
at.
you're saying that
It-
for
it-
the chairs.
It's not a matter of deciding permanently, you can change your mind in the process. Again, this is a discussion period with MSBA and you gotta look at it that way. This is not saying to MSBA, this is it, this is the decision, these are the 3 we want. But that's not what it's about. It's about communication with MSBA and getting this first major step accomplished with it. That's what you look at it. So hopefully everything else looks like that.
Cindy Chester, Park and Recreation. So in that submission, will you be saying these are our 3 preferred options? Because that's what it looks like here.
No, also, we have all 7 options. We haven't made any decisions.
Well, what you're saying to us is that 3 preferred ones have to be recommended.
Yeah. Not on the second though, not next week. All 7 go in equally.
I'm confused. So all 7 are going in,
Yeah.
not 3 preferred in the next week.
No, so the name, there's 2 phases to feasibility. The first is preferred, I'm sorry, the PDP, which is the design program. So that's the first phase. That's forming what the educational program is. That's the menu, basically. This is what the educational plan needs to put into the buildings. Then the second feasibility phase is the PSR, preferred schematic report. So that's when the preferred option goes forward at the end of the year. They get carried forward.
All right, we will have to consult with.
Yeah.
So to be.
All right, just right, just very briefly, we have to move on,
So
but
to
Yeah.
be clear, you're not putting in 3 preferred options on September 2nd. Is that correct?
The presentation from this evening, those 7 options are what's going in.
Period. No, there's not gonna say, and these are the 3 we're most interested in, but maybe we change our mind later. I just think there's been a message that.
You're required by the NSBA to say your 3 preferred options, but we're not required to stick to those. Or you.
So, all right, so it's not, we're only putting in 7. You're putting in 7 and saying, these are our 3 preferred, and you're telling us, but maybe we'll change our mind later.
Yeah,
So
we gotta
before the
list some-
chairs meeting, you're gonna say, these are your 3 preferred options. Correct? Is that it?
Yeah.
I mean, if that's what we're doing, let's just be square, that's what we're
Right.
doing.
But that doesn't mean that we can't change our mind about what those are. There's no question about that.
Well,
Right, but
You're going to be working on them all, so as you develop them, you could say, for example. The DeFazio site, you could continue to do a couple different options on that, and then things could happen at other meetings and that could get dropped off. Then you could say, now we're gonna focus on the Pollard site and we're looking at different options on that. So it's going to play out over the next phase of the project. With more information gathered every step of the way as we get to the end of this year. So we continue to have meetings with all the different people in town that we have to talk to and gather the appropriate information, and things will, change as we go. Depending on the information we get. Depending on the direction we get from this
Josh.
Uh,
group.
Josh Levy, Select Board. When will the 3 preferred options be discussed before submission? Is that tonight or is that on September 2nd?
I don't know, is that gonna be part of the discussion next Tuesday?
Because it has to come from a recommendation from the school committee as well. They have to weigh in on it too, so.
Was that part of the objective next Tuesday that at a joint meeting?
I guess so.
I'm learning that it is.
This is the only way you can get input from school committees are next meeting. And then the committee that is submitting this actually makes the submission. But you certainly wouldn't do that without having the school committee weigh in and say, these are the 3 that we think make the most sense, which we can only do on the 2nd. Before we have our joint meeting.
But the next meeting is on the 6th.
Yeah.
Meeting on the 6th.
No, on the 3rd.
What's magical about September 2nd and it was just also September 9th or September 16th or September 24th.
We've already told the MSBA that date.
It's a cycle with the MSBA, and when their facilities assessment subcommittee meets, if we delay it a week or 10 days, then we may have to delay it a month or 2 months relative to the MSBA process.
This is the date we gave them and we should stick to it unless
Yeah.
there's a reason not to.
I think it's important to meet the date it's submitted because, we all know, most of us in this room, I think, know that the longer you allow the schedule to flow, the more it's gonna cost. And so we're pushing a fairly, rapid schedule. Hopefully an intelligent schedule that answers all the right questions, so. I think we need to submit it then, and just assure you that we have not made our mind up about what the options are, and I'm gonna change that, because that could change, for sure. We have a requirement by MSBA, we need to submit all of these, preferences that, people have. Frankly, I have my own preferences, which I'll make known to white people. I think we have to have as many options open as we can. That includes both the 6th through 8 and the 7th and 8th. And site locations at Pollard and site location at Bethesda. I think all those options need to be left open, especially during this next 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, I would like clarity and I just feel an elephant in the room here. So correct me if I'm wrong, but as a committee, I think it's important for us to be clear about what this process is. And I'd like to make sure we get that in this conversation for everybody that's outside of the committee. One, second, just to clarify, my understanding is that these options, these are actually more options that we started to lead with. So there's 7 now on the table. We may have 3 preferred options that we raise our hands, say, we think these are the 3 preferred. But that does not isolate us into those 3 and all the other 4 are off the table.
That's good.
That's one piece of information I think is very important, because I think everybody's starting to go like this. This process has been going underway for some time with open meetings. And I knew it was gonna happen, and it's gonna get even worse. People are gonna start coming in here with curveballs, I don't want this, and how can we dare do that? This process has been open, and so I just wanna make sure we continue to reiterate where we are and what it's about. But I feel a sense that's brewing that, oh my God, 3 decisions and that's it. I don't think that's the case. We are required by a process. School committee is the one that, if I'm not mistaken, is ultimately making that decision. As a committee, we are here to corral this and put the options on the table for people to work. I think we've done that. We will now bring it to the wider audience, but that audience now to school committee mainly to decide. Stop me if I'm going too far, Chair. But the fact is that school committee is gonna make a decision. We will come back to the table after this submission occurs, and we will probably go through many conversations, and I think it's very fair that all finance committee, park and rec, we are gonna have to grapple with some tough issues, but at least we've got a framework that's out there. Is that fair to say? But I think it's important to reemphasize, to just bring clarity to where we are, because I don't think anybody should leave this room, both as a committee and the public listening, to go off and just put the blinders on. It's too complex, too important.
Thank you, Stuart. Before we move on, any questions or comments from the folks who are online, members of the SBC? No? Okay. Okay.
I was just gonna say, I agree with everything Stuart just said. I think we don't need people to go to their corners right now. We need everyone to have an open mind and look at all the options on the table, and we're gonna continue to do that.
Great, thank you, Lynn. All right, we're gonna, I think at this point, we are a little bit over time, so I'd like to move on to the invoices that are under consideration for this evening, or for the part of the middle school project. The first item to be approved by the committee, the chair will move that the committee approve the invoice from Lyro Program and Construction Management for June and July 2025 services, the amount of $2,650 coming out of the OPM budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart?
Aye.
Lynn?
I,
Bob?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Roy?
Aye.
Irwin?
Aye.
Okay. Lisa?
Aye.
Tamitha?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. Okay, the second invoice is from Kirkwood. As for postcards printing and mail. And that's in the amount of $6,156.50. The chair will so move. It's out of the OPM budget. Is there a second on that motion?
Aye.
second,
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Lynn.
I guess so.
Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart?
Aye.
Lynn?
I,
Bob?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Roy? Irwin?
Aye.
Elisa?
Aye.
Tamitha?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. That is it for the middle school invoices, I believe, for Owen, right? Yes, okay, great. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I will see you on September 2nd.
Yeah.
One of them says this would be easy.
Yeah. This is actually the easy part.
We will get there.
We will. We definitely will.
Make a lot of good decisions along the way.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Nancy,
you.
please. Thank you, Tamara. Go on.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the Center at the Heights, Phase 1. And for that, I recognize.
Yes, and,
Oh, okay.
and Nancy Johnson, from BH+A is joining us. To talk about the schematic design. Schematic design plans and the narratives were sent to the committee in advance. Nancy can walk us through those plans. I should note that as we've been working on this with Tim and his team, there's been an evolution in the thinking. There has been some increase in the scope, and we want to discuss that with you. But it seems to be the preferred direction from from Tim and his group, and I believe Tim has discussed that with members of the Council on Aging. And so we'll walk through those plans once you're ready. It may take you a moment.
Yeah.
I'll keep talking then. And while we have this august body available, we could vote on the line items, and put that ahead of the presentation.
Well, maybe we can vote some of the things that we're waiting to vote.
We could do that too. You just give us a shout when you're ready.
That was the Center of the Heights invoice that Richard will work on down the line. Once Nancy's ready, we can
Okay.
jump back in.
All right, very good. Well, we will take there is one invoice regarding the Center at the Heights project. And that is from BH+A Architects. That's for July 2025 services. And it's in the amount of $7,500 on the architect's budget. The chair will so move. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Roy. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart?
Aye.
Lynn?
I,
Thank you. Bob?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Roy?
Aye.
Irwin?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Thank you, and chair votes aye. Barry's not here tonight.
Correct.
Thank you. All right,
And then
we've
also got the
Other bus-
proposal for the cross estimate.
Yeah, the CHA here.
oh, okay. So we have a proposal dated August 21st of 2025 from CHA. That's to approve the proposal for cost estimating services. The amount of, is that $35,000? $35,800. That's out of the OPM budget. The chair will so move. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion?
I should note that it includes schematic design, design development, and then 80% CVs. So it's similar to all the other cost estimates we've done on other projects. And
And include reconciliation meetings with BH+A's cost estimator. There's 3 rounds.
Good. Any other discussion? Right, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart?
Aye.
Lynn?
I,
Bob?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Roy?
Aye.
Erwin?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you.
Can I plug in to run off of here, or you said something about doing it on Zoom, but I'm having some trouble getting on the Zoom here for some reason. Oh, I'm not sure.
Do you have it on a stick?
I do, it's all connected
Meryl,
here,
can
I
you
just,
put it on yours? and,
Yeah. I'm not one.
but then I wouldn't be able to run it from here.
Oh, you can take my laptop.
Oh, okay. So is that easier than plugging mine in? Do you have PowerPoint on there?
Is it on the server? I might.
Should be.
Yeah.
I've done PowerPoints before.
Okay.
You just can't find the Zoom.
Well, the problem is that I can't get I can join a meeting, but I don't have the link. So if you have the meeting number, I can put that in. But
If that's easier.
yeah, maybe. I can't get to the link here somehow.
Sure. It's on the end.
Do you wanna go to the DPW stuff? Richard?
should be on that.
Yeah, okay, let's. All right, we'll take the DPW invoices while we're waiting for that to come up. So. And we have a change order first. That's the first time is a change order, and that's for LIRO program and construction management, pre-qualification and bid review. And that's in the amount of it's so small, that 8,000, thank you. Is the chair will so move as a discussion? Chair will move a second. Is there a second? Sorry, thank you, sorry. Is there discussion?
Fine,
Okay.
But
Hearing
I
none.
need to share.
Okay,
I don't know if I can, because I'm.
we'll proceed to a roll call vote then. All right, that's Stuart,
Aye.
Lynn,
I,
Bob,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Roy,
Aye.
Erwin,
Aye.
and chair votes aye.
And Shane,
Sorry. Shane.
Aye.
silence.
So I elevated you to a panelist.
The problem is I don't know if I can share screen. I just logged in here.
Did I elevated you to a panelist? I did that. Oh, I looked fast.
Okay,
There you go.
that's, I gotta join as panel.
No, it should be on. No, you should.
Okay, that's always the problem. Okay.
There you go.
Are we missing Catherine yet?
We need to finish DPW or go right into your presentation. Are you ready?
Well, if you're almost done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's just do the 2 invoices and we'll finish up. Okay, the next item is an invoice from Weston and Sampson for June and July 2025 services. Again, this is on DPW project in the amount of $194,518.19 from the architect's budget. Is there a second on that motion? Thank you. Discussion on the motion.
Was quick in the draw.
Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. And again, it's on DPW. Stuart?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Roy?
Aye.
Irwin?
Aye.
Shane?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Thank you. One more. And that's for commissioning services from NV5. The chair will move that the committee approve the invoice from NV5 for August 2024 commissioning services in the amount of $2,399.60 coming out of the miscellaneous budget. Is there a second on that motion? Thank you, Roy. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed as a roll call vote. Stuart?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Roy? Irwin?
Aye.
Shane?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. Okay,
Okay, sorry
Thank you.
about the delay.
thank you for putting up with us.
That's fine. Glad to get that done. So, my name is Nancy Bathan. I'm with BH+A, and we've been working on, some renovations at the Needham Center at the Heights. And working with Hank and Latanya, Colleen. So, we'll get started. We just issued the schematic design drawings. These are the key floor plans. The main areas, is the fitness, exercise, game room, kitchen, and vestibule. So we'll start with the vestibule. Because everybody wants to enter in the store, seems like makes sense to make that an entrance, so adding a vestibule will help keep the temperature right and give people a place to sign in. So this is where we're planning to locate it. We did some sketches in the beginning, but what we're coming back to is keeping the door in the location that it is, and then lining up the windows up above. So these are the plans, and I don't know if you can see, but in the middle, you can see the existing door location is staying where it is. And then we've got two windows across from that. You've got a door leading to one side of the parking lot, also a door leading to the other side of the parking lot, and with a cover on the one on the upper side. And then I don't know if you can see, because all of the the Zoom box, yeah, there you go, thank you. We are re-striping two parking spaces for two accessible spaces right near the vestibule at that entrance door where there's a cover. Here's some elevations and axonometric of what the new vestibule looks like. And as you can see on the left, the elevations were lining up the windows. So it just sort of shifts over the pair of windows. So we have, it matches the rest of the facade quite nicely. Does anybody have any questions about the vestibule before we go on?
Just one question. So you can, they can fabricate windows that match the existing buildings windows, or are they for the vestibule? Is that?
You know, we have to check into that,
Yeah.
but I'm assuming that we can get that to match.
Yeah.
So, I think Jeremy was on here. I don't know. I don't see him now, but.
He was.
Jeremy, oh, he's not on anymore.
Regarding handicapped accessibility, that entrance is handicapped accessible.
Yes, there'll be,
You're gonna have to redo the sidewalk in that area.
that is correct. Yeah, the sidewalk is gonna come out just a little bit. I'll go back to the other plan. As you can see, there's a little bump out on the middle drawing, which is the plan. On the right side of that, there's a little bump out to allow a 4-foot sidewalk to go around the vestibule. So we've got all the clearances at the doors that we need. And then the sidewalk will jog to get to the door, and then it will continue on both sides.
My first question is, you said there are two accessible spots there.
Yes.
Is that really enough? To have it right there by the door? I mean,
There are some others that are existing.
I'm just saying, those seem to be the most. I would put more, and just when you think about it, should we put more there and move them, where they are?
We're looking at relocating to get them all in that.
Right, yeah, that, I'm just
But
saying.
there are, these two are two new ones.
Okay, but I'm just saying. as
In
it-
addition to the ones that are already there, yeah.
And I should also note that the town has now leased a dozen spaces in what is the MBTA lot. They have to lease it back from the MBTA, and 2 of those spaces are now handicapped accessible, and they're the closest to the front door.
Okay.
So we're actually increasing the total number of handicap spaces on the site by 4.
Yeah, it wasn't the number, just let's make them as convenient as we can.
Yeah.
All right, Bob has a question, Bob?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Regarding the 2 doors into the vestibule, one on the north, one on the south, I understand there'll be a cover over the one on the north only. So that's my first question. Why not on the other one, if that's the case? And also, what will that cover? How will that be structured? Is it a canopy supported from above, or posted to the ground, or just cantilevered?
It's cantilevered. It's not a very large overhang,
Okay.
but that's the way it is.
And only one, not on the both doors?
That is the way it's currently shown. It's less likely to interfere with the windows over there, so that's why we put it there. And also, I think because that's the side where it's anticipated that more people will be entering.
It's when you look at the overall parking, the majority of the spaces or in the back of the building are to that other side.
Oh,
But
okay.
both sides would be access.
Yeah, and I see the window in the plan, so that helps. Thanks for the answer.
So you can see it again here, in the elevation, you can see the overhang on, as you're looking at the drawing, on the right side and not on the left side.
Originally, on the design of the building, it was anticipated that there'd be a generator plug-in capability in the back there. What does this do to that? Does it interfere with it?
It does not interfere.
Doesn't
It's a
interfere
totally
with it at all.
separate.
This is actually beyond what the vestibule is. It's beyond the basement area. So Barry's doing the generator project and it'll go in between the vestibule and that south end of the building.
So they could still drive up their generator and plug it in.
It's actually a generator being installed. It's
Inside
not-
the building?
It's not, no, outside.
Outside the building.
It's not a port. It's an actual generator.
And
that's being
where
put
is that gonna be? Right in the parking lot?
It's gonna be.
To the
Nancy,
right
if you go back to
to the
your,
right of that.
like the site type plan.
I
See,
don't-
see where you get those 2 new handicap spaces, George?
Yeah.
Alright, if you come down halfway and then go across the parking lot. It's gonna be on that side of the parking lot,
Okay.
Along the train tracks.
Yeah.
along the train tracks, that's right, Tim.
Okay.
And that's a separate and parallel project. Being overseen by building maintenance.
Is that going in before this is anticipated?
It
Depends on their funding.
it depends on their timing and all, it can be done concurrently. Actually, it probably would make sense if you're gonna have that area torn up and Barry's leaning towards that. If he was here tonight, you know, could speak to it, but conversations I've had with him, he's leaning towards trying to do it either before or concurrent with what we're doing with this project.
And my strong preference would be concurrent, just because we want to minimize disruption to the seniors where possible. We'll see what Barry comes up with.
Makes sense.
Okay, so the next piece of the work is the kitchen renovation. The original kitchen was designed not fully as a commercial kitchen, and we're trying to, in this renovation, make it more of a commercial kitchen to serve larger quantity of meals. So on the left is the demolition plan. Most of the counters and cabinets are being removed. In the area close to the serving window, that's gonna remain, and I'll show you on the elevations where you can see also how much of the cabinets are staying. The shelving that's in the current pantry area, that is going to be relocated. The break area is gonna be moved out, and that's gonna become a pantry. And then the current pantry is gonna have a walk-in cooler and freezer. And everything that you see in red would be new. So there's a new combi oven, a new, I can't see this because it's still a bit too small to read it. But,
New sinks, new.
yeah,
dishwasher.
on the right side, you have all your dishwashing, new dishwasher, new sinks, and some new, movable stainless steel work counters. And new sinks up on the northern side of the overall kitchen. So it's pretty much all interior stays. So we're keeping the, something Jeremy would be on. Oh, Jeremy, you want to talk about the kitchen? Is he?
Is that, yeah.
Jeremy, do you have some things you want to add about the kitchen? I was just starting and then I saw you were on again, so I think you know it a little bit better than I do.
Sure. I think, well, let me just go quickly through it. What the existing kitchen is, more of a residential type kitchen, and the desire to turn into more of a commercial kitchen. So to do that, we're going to have to remove a good portion of the existing equipment. So the range, the two ovens. So I think there's a refrigerator and most of the existing sinks. So you can see in the demo, there's 3 walls of current equipment and cabinetry and storage that's going to come out, and then it's going to be replaced with all new, dishwashing prep tables, a new combi oven that's going to give a lot more flexibility as far as preparing meals, a new range, new griddle, new washing, and then there's kind of 2 big items. The new freezer, walk-in freezer cooler is it's a one-piece freezer cooler that'll be built as almost as a separate room on site, so that'll give you storage options. And the second is the grease trap. The existing grease trap in the existing waistlines were built to code 12 years ago when the original building was put up, but now the codes have changed, and with the change to a commercial kitchen, we're going to need bigger waistlines and a bigger grease trap. So just for comparison, the existing grease trap, it's 20 gallons per minute, and the new one has to be 50. So it's more than double the space, and both those are going to require some excavation of the slab to make those fit in.
With my frugal hat on, when we built this, there's a lot of nice cabinets and countertops and stainless steel here and there. Is there any way that can be reused either on this project or given away to somebody that needs it? Or do we just throw it out? I mean, it just bothers me that a lot of that's probably still in very good condition for somebody to use. Is there a way to find out whether we can either give it away to somebody that really could use it, or to sell it, or, I mean, I don't particularly.
Then we run into the disposal rules required under
Yeah.
chapter 30 or
You're
whichever
better
one
off
it is.
trying to find somebody to give it to. You could probably give it away.
And there's still restrictions, there's still some restrictions on that though, too.
Right, so some small elements could potentially be relocated because the staff area is proposed in the next slide to go into the basement. Because there is no place for the staff to.
By
refrigerator.
eliminating their, to the left side of their demo plan, the left side of this slide is where their break room is.
I don't
That's
think
becoming.
us to do that here, but I just. throw-
Well, no, you're right, some of that could potentially be used, downstairs where we're, and that's some of the scope creep that Hank referred to at the top.
Yeah.
Is that wasn't originally part of the plan, but as we went through this, now where's the, staff gonna take their breaks, so. We found
can
a usable room downstairs.
We can explore those opportunities.
It just bothers that there's a lot of really good
Yeah.
equipment and furniture and cabinets and I hate to see them
Yeah.
thrown.
George, I would say that almost every appliance has broken in the last 3 years. So
Yeah,
the cabinets and the countertops, I think, to your point, make sense. I do think that a lot of the equipment, like the actual appliances, are showing their age. So we've had to replace basically all of them. I do think it would make a lot of sense to try to reuse what we could, though.
I agree with you. When it comes to stoves and refrigerators and things like that, you're probably better off, getting rid of those or giving them away and pray that nothing happens.
Erwin.
Just a quick question on the seating capacity that's not gonna be affected. The existing capacity where people are moving now. Is that gonna be
What,
the
for the staff or
Oh, people,
the people, yeah, that's not changing, we're not changing that.
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm.
Yeah, the dining area stays as is.
same
Yeah.
capacity?
Mhm. So here are the elevations to show where things are being removed. Everything that's dotted is coming out, the things that are not are staying. So the upper cabinets are staying. And all of the cabinets at the serving window, which is the one down on the lower left, that's staying. But as we said, most of the rest has to come out. And here's the drawing showing the new break room and storage in the basement.
The room's currently supplies for the custodial staff. And so the plan is take them out of there in that caged area that's shown in the middle of the plan outlined in red. That's just gonna be like a chain link cage floor to ceiling. And that's gonna be the new supplies, with the janitorial staff can put their supplies. And we can take that room. The only tricky part of it is the waste, the height of the waste run is higher than where the sink would be. So we'd have to put a little lift pump in to get it up into the sanitary.
The height of the ceiling's not gonna be a problem anywhere.
Yeah.
It's a little lower than.
A little, but it's not, yeah, I mean, we can debate whether you even need a ceiling in the break room or not.
So we're planning a new counter with sink, new microwave and refrigerator. Jeremy, do you have anything to add about that? Is that
No, I think you covered it.
okay? So the other piece is the fitness and game room swap. So the fitness room is the needs are growing so much, there's insufficient space for all the equipment that they want to provide. And as you can see, the existing fitness room is pretty packed in there. And the wiring is coming across the floor and just having to be taped over. So trying to improve that, we are going to, through the utilization study, there were several things that were studied, and the favored plan is to take over the game room. So here's the existing game room. As you can see, there's 2 billiard tables, a ping pong table, some computer tables and chairs. And there's some recessed down lights and some pendant fixtures that are over the billiard tables that we're planning to relocate to the second floor. So here's the plan showing this swap. The two rooms on the first floor. The current room on the right side is the fitness. They're gonna move over to the room on the left side, which is currently the game room. So the difference of 1,000 square feet to 1,300 square feet. So it's a pretty good increase in area. So they have more space for all of their equipment. And the room on the right, which was currently the fitness room, is gonna become an exercise room. There's currently an exercise room on the second floor, which is adjacent to the room where the game room is gonna be relocated. So going up to the second floor, the game room, as you can see, what you're looking at is the final end result of two rooms being combined. And you've got basically the same things that you have in the current game room. It's just a little bit tighter, but you do have the clearances that you need to play with the two pool tables and the ping pong table. And then you get one computer table, which is right here next on the wall opposite the door. So first floor fitness rooms. What we're gonna be doing, there's not a whole lot of work in the current game room, but most of it is going to be electrical. We're gonna be adding some outlets for the new configuration of the equipment. There's a lot more power needs for the fitness equipment than for the game room. There's been some recommendations for some additional HVAC, which is in the narrative. It's not shown on these drawings, but that's something that we have to discuss and how much we want to do, whether we're gonna be able to meet all the recommendations or we're gonna live with the situation that we have, which is close, but not 100% desirable. I think they were planning, they said that if you have 14 people in the fitness room, the air is good. But I'm thinking, and I don't know if you guys want to say, is 14 people enough to keep up to, so basically that's the debate we gotta go through and figure out whether we wanna up the air conditioning in there to have more than 14 people be comfortable.
Nancy, one question I had, the equipment that's in the middle of the floor,
Yes,
is that powered? Does that require outlets?
so some of it, this is something we're
Yes.
still waiting. We're still waiting on all of the specs on the equipment. We've got a list of equipment, but we don't have the specs to say what's powered and what's not. The bikes, some bikes are powered and some
Right.
are not, so
Well,
I
Tim
don't,
said they are.
so all of those bikes are gonna be powered?
Yeah, so we probably.
That's my understanding.
The
Sorry, that's my
existing-
understanding.
Okay, so that's something we still have
Don't
to
eject
solve.
for putting a power pole in the middle of the room. You
Well,
can drop it from the ceiling. I don't know that we want to get into digging up the floor to run. to put floor outlets in.
we're hoping to get the layout so that most of the powered equipment will be
You're
up
wrong,
against
on
the wall.
cables, yeah. Yep.
So, and this is not the final layout. So once we get all of that information with the specs, then we can revisit the fitness floor plan and see how many pieces that are gonna be out in the middle and what we have to deal with them. So, yes,
So the existing fitness room, you said the capacity was 14?
no, I'm talking about the new fitness room. The HVAC, the engineers did a narrative. And I don't know how many of you have looked at that. But they based on what the current HVAC that's in those rooms. And they said that if there were 14 people in there, it would be comfortable.
The load is
I'm
okay.
trying to compare the existing to the new, so.
The existing's a smaller room.
Right.
So you wouldn't have that, if I remember right from the narrative, the existing room, which is now gonna be the exercise room, is okay going forward. But with the fitness room, if you have more than 14 people in there, the load is too much for the existing system, so it may need a supplemental cassette unit or something like that to
Yeah.
have more flow in the room.
They recommend, to do it right, to
I'm just trying to
replace.
get a sense of the difference in capacity, so, because I use the fitness room.
Mhm.
So the existing fitness room, how many people are they saying are?
Well, that's not gonna be a fitness room anymore, it's gonna be an exercise room.
Yeah, but I'm trying to get the difference.
I don't think they noted the capacity for that as it currently exists. They only did
But the new one.
They only did the new one.
For 14.
Well,
Anything over 14
The,
could be problematic for the existing HVAC.
well, in the exercise room as well, that's, the current system that's in the room that's on the right, which is gonna be the exercise room, will be comfortable based on 10 people being in that room.
Okay.
So if there are more than 10 people, then we might wanna talk about doing something with the HVAC. And they said in the fitness room, the option would be to replace one or both of the existing ceiling sets with new bigger units. And then pretty much the same in the other room. If we're gonna have more than that number of people, and the
You know,
space, the
exercise-
space will allow more than that.
That's not gonna happen. We currently have like 20 people in drum kits, you know, and.
Yeah, 20
But aren't you supposed to
swim
them?
Oh,
Yes, yeah, they're supposed to sweat, so what the hell?
so that exercise room, you can have 20 people in there, for the area.
Right,
So,
yeah, for the space,
Yeah, for the space,
space
you
wise.
can have 20,
Yeah.
not a lot more than that, though,
It'll be a
that's
little-
pretty much
little
it.
warm currently, but.
In terms of the equipment side of it, I think, you really need to plan on every piece of equipment needing power. Because that's the way they come to
Well,
it.
a lot of them do, yeah, and I don't know what Tim's got on his list,
Weight
but.
machines were not.
No, the weight machines wouldn't, and some of the rowing machines don't either. But you know, anything bike, treadmill, recumbent bike, upright bike.
But if
they
you put
all need power.
a hole in there
If anything in the middle needs power, I think the
Yeah.
pole,
You
power
put a
pole
pole in
would be the
and,
way to handle it,
and that way you're not tripping over wires and stuff.
but like they are now.
So for the reflected ceiling plan, we are planning to remove the existing lights in the game room and take them upstairs and reuse them. And then the current game room, then you would get new fixtures for the fitness room. And then some of these ceiling tiles would have to be patched where you're gonna have light fixtures removed. But we're not planning on doing any ceiling changes in the existing fitness room. Those lights could stay. Ideally, we would replace all the lights in the rooms that we're doing new work. We're planning to replace the lights with new LED fixtures. But in that room, because it's existing, you could leave them as they are in the existing room. So for the new RCP, on the left side for the new fitness room, we're showing similar fixtures to what you have in the exercise room, but they're going to be LEDs. But we're not planning to remove the sheetrock coffer that's there, because it's there.
The lights that are there now, they CFLs?
In that room, the recessed can fixtures are LEDs, so those can be reused upstairs. And the pendant fixtures have the socket that you can put LED bulbs in, so those can be reused. But the linear fixtures that are upstairs, so if we go to here, these existing ones, those are fluorescent, so those are not, it's not advisable to reuse those. So I'm gonna go back to the demolition for the second floor game room. There are two rooms right now, and we're gonna take out the wall in between the two rooms. We're gonna remove all the flooring. And the doors, because they now need to swing out because of the size of the room, the occupancy. What we are planning to do is to take the doors and frames with the side lights, take them out, rotate them 180 degrees. So they'll be swinging out, and so you don't actually have to replace them. But you would need a new door in to the far left where we would be providing the second means of egress to that room. And the second means of egress would go through this other program room on the other side. So demo on the left, the new construction plan on the right. We're extending there's a wall to enlarge the room, taking a little bite out of the corridor. So one of the light fixtures, the pendant fixtures that's hanging in the corridor will have to be removed for that to happen. And so as you can see, the shaded walls are existing and the non-shaded walls new. So there's not a lot of new walls here on this, but it's still a lot of new construction because we got new flooring, the ceiling we'll keep the ceiling. I'll show the ceiling. We'll keep the ceiling that's in the room on the left side and extend it over. We'll have to, we can reuse some of the tiles. We'll have to get some new tiles, and then extend the grid over so that we're trying to keep as much as possible of the existing. Any questions on this? Combining the two rooms?
Just one question about the patching of the ceiling tiles. I mean, how's it aesthetically, how's it gonna look?
Well, you wouldn't patch a ceiling tile, you would take a ceiling, you would have to replace
Yeah.
the ceiling tiles.
Yeah.
But the ceiling grids, you would have to purchase new parts or reconfigure. Take the existing ceiling grid and reconfigure it so that it lines up, because it's gonna all be one ceiling. But yeah, I mean, once we get into the next stage, we have to examine, what did the existing tiles look like? Do we have enough? Are they stained? Is it gonna be really noticeable if we have some new ones? So this is another level of evaluation. This is the ideal, that we can reuse as much as possible. So we're gonna have to verify that. Any other questions?
So what's the change in the scope due to the cost?
To be determined.
So we'll run through the schedule and then we'll talk about that. So the schedule where we are now, August 25th, we are finished with schematic design. The schematic design estimate is in process and we're starting design development. Then October 6th, we'll send out for the design development estimate and start the 80% construction docs. And the 80% CD estimate will be starting up October 8th. And then we'll go into 100% construction docs, send out the RFQ February 2nd. And the bidding is slated to be February 23rd through April 6th, and then the review and Springtown meeting on May 4th.
So we would need to be developing the warrant article based on the DD. Well, I guess maybe 80% CDs.
Might be able to slip it in there.
Yeah. But in terms of overview relative to the scope creep, moving the game room upstairs was not anticipated in the original plan. Yet the relocation of the fitness room to the old game room was anticipated. And by moving the exercise room adjacent to the fitness room, it improves the functionality of both spaces. And some of those classes are taught by the same people, even though there are others that come in and teach those classes. The room that's upstairs that's being taken out, one is a program room, the smaller of the two. The other one is a computer room. And we're told that the computers are used very rarely. They're used around tax time. And those computers are original to the building, so they're now old in computer language. And so the thought is that, like all schools, that would transition to a laptop system and on a cart, and then those classes could be taught in any one of the programming rooms. Or the classroom. We are not currently including the computers within our budget. But that will be a discussion that we'll have to have with Council on Aging and the Health Department.
The computers or the carts.
Or the carts.
Yeah, I have had discussions with Mark Messias from the combined IT department, and he indicated that he thought he and I could figure that one out. That there was some surplus carts from the schools, and from the discussion with Aging Service Division staff, he thought that Chromebooks, rather than sort of higher end laptops, might be sufficient for the needs for Medicare and Medicaid enrollment, SNAP enrollment, and AARP tax prep. So the cost is pretty modest. So yes, not anticipated to be part of the capital project, but something HHS will work with IT to pick up.
And normally IT would be replacing computers of that age anyway. Probably a shorter schedule. And so rather than replacing them in kind throughout the district, they're putting in laptops instead of desktop computers.
Yep.
Oh, that makes sense.
Any questions about the schedule? So the next steps, we want to confirm the scope of work, considering the scope creep, and just double check that we're on the right track with what we're planning to do, because I know it is going to be more than what was estimated and in the previous study. And we have cost estimates that are due soon, so when we get that, we'll go over that and help us to see where we're gonna go from here.
We'll probably be returning to the committee at the second meeting in September, which I believe is the 15th of September.
The meeting here?
Yeah.
For the next step, okay.
But let's see where we are on the cost estimates. And it'll be up to the user group to convince FinCom and others. But they seemed to be very receptive the last time we were there.
It's the only time FinCom, it's the only time FinCom has ever told me to think bigger, so.
But it does need to be incorporated into the FY 27 capital improvement plan. And so that information will be dovetailed with those submissions.
And I understand you have a cost estimator also working on that, so we're gonna have a reconciliation between the two.
Yeah, we've just appointed them, so we're.
When is theirs expected? You have a date?
We'll talk to them tomorrow.
Okay. And then we'll.
They seem to indicate they might be able to do it. Usually they want 3 weeks. They said maybe they can do it in 2, but as Hank said, we'll discuss that tomorrow. I'm not holding my breath.
I think my feeling at this point is that things sound logical. They may be a little higher scope than I anticipated, but it makes sense. I do think you need to be prepared to answer questions such as, you're throwing everything away that we just put in 20 years ago. And I think logically we have to be able to justify that, but from what it seems to me, this sort of thing is necessary. And it's the way to do it in this minimum amount of cost that's possible. And the rest of the community gonna.
The other question will be phasing in terms of sequence of construction, your narrative talked about doing the demolition and creation of the game room on the second floor, then moving the game room upstairs prior to doing the work on the ground floor. Whereas the addition of the vestibule and kitchen renovation will likely take the longest time and at least 6 months. And so, and that is something we'll need to be discussing.
We'll also have to look at the pricing when it comes in vis-a-vis each individual piece to see whether it can all be done together. Do we need to split it up? Do we need to scale back the scope? Those are all questions that we'll need to look at once the cost estimates come in.
And it makes sense to do the vestibule and the kitchen simultaneously. And if we had to break it down, then it would make sense to do the game room and the fitness room and exercise room simultaneously.
I would add, oh, sorry, George, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I would add that this presentation hasn't been seen by the Council on Aging board yet. They meet on September 11th, although Colleen Shaler, the chair that's in the room, has been kept in the loop. The initial submissions as part of the fiscal 24 capital plan were revised for fiscal 25 because the COA board wanted a different approach, and they wanted essentially to put forth their 3 priorities, which were fitness and game room, kitchen, and handicap accessible entrance. So it was a change from what had been sort of previously contemplated. I was very grateful that the town manager and especially Dave Davison found money in the budget to accommodate moving up some of the things that were originally phased out over a longer period. And I think the hope is that we can move forward on all of them. It'd be great if we could. But that was a really big change that the Council on Aging requested, and that the town worked to say, okay, yeah, we were going to spread these out over 6 or 8 years, and we're willing to consider doing all 3 at once. So that was very helpful, and that's part of the reason we're here today.
I did have one question for Tim. Tim, I suspect some people would look at this building and look at the outdoor space on the second level, patio, I guess you call it. Was any thought given to making any changes there? I know that, you know, I hate to add scope, but I also always like to ask questions that maybe will come up at some point. Has any thought been given to doing anything with that, or just using it as it is now?
Yeah, so the original feasibility, which was also led by BHNA, came up sort of with 7 projects, of which game, fitness room, kitchen, and vestibule are 3 of the projects. One of the projects was a sort of reconceptualized deck that would sort of divide it into 3 areas and have a series of, for lack of a better word, shade structures, a pergola, sort of an outdoor living room feel for part of it. The cost was, you know, as far as costs go, relatively modest in terms of a couple $100,000. But I think given the prioritization from the Council on Aging board and from the staff, it was felt that, you know, there could be a little bit of money here and some donations there in a way that could, you know, allow the deck to be utilized better for $10,000 or $20,000. Whereas, you know, finding, you know, $400,000 for the fitness room or $300,000 for a handicap accessible rear entrance isn't going to be, you know, something we could turn to volunteers or fundraising for.
George, we received a very large donation from the Exchange Club, which we are using for the deck to replace one pergola and replace furniture and stuff. So that's been taken care of. So we don't, in our estimation as the COA, we don't expect to do much more than what the donation was from exchange.
Just something to make it more usable
Yes,
in a hot
Yeah.
summer day.
right. So
Sometimes
we've
it's,
replaced all the glass tables and we've also are looking into putting some kind of awning or pergola or something up there to create a shade area.
Right. Okay. That was part of my concern. I hate to see that space not be used because.
We use it.
It's too hot, not shady here. Okay, thank you very much, Jen. Appreciate it.
Any other
Any other
questions or comments? Okay, very good.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Appreciate it. Right. Thank you. We have, let's see, so we take care of the invoices, so we're all set.
No, you need to.
Yeah, I mean, I meant for. Okay. All right. We'll move on to the last remaining set of invoices and change orders for the RTU replacement. The chair will move change a change order from CAM HVAC Construction as for fence modification for ASHP -1 in the amount of $5,329.82 coming out of the general contractor's budget. Is there a second on that motion? Right. Thank you, Roman. Discussion on the motion. Okay, hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. I would note that neither user rep is here tonight, Ann or Barry, so it'll just be those of us present from the PBC proper. Stuart? Aye. Lynn?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
George? Roy? Erwin?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you. Second, we have change order number 7 for from CAM HVAC and Construction also. That's for the number 7 condenser shutdown restart. That's the amount of $14,770.35 out of the general contractor's budget. The chair will so move. Is there a second on that motion? Thank you, Owen. Discussion on the motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, quick question. On the spreadsheet I see underneath, it says additional stone and blank.
The ampersand shouldn't be there, Bob. I think the ampersand should have preceded the additional stone as opposed to following.
Thank you.
No further questions at this time.
So the motion should be condenser, shutdown, restart, and additional stone.
Yes, so the additional stone, in the back where the air source heat pump is, we rearranged the fencing.
We need to do the fence. It was originally inside the stone wall. And we moved it outside for access purposes and then to seal off where the pipes are against the wall. And that created an area that was gonna be difficult to maintain grass wise, so we decided to stone that as opposed to seeding it with grass.
Moving it and also.
Correct.
In terms of schedule, how are we doing on schedule?
Units are up and running. They're just doing the programming.
That'll continue through the early school year.
That'll continue for at least 2 weeks, if not a little bit longer, by the time.
Thank you.
They do the,
Thank
thanks
you.
Nancy. The training scheduled for mid-September on the units. And then once E&E's done with the programming, we'll do the controls training, after that. And there's not a lot on the commissioning list, so that's a good plus.
And you got the electrical inspection
Today,
and
and they got
final inspection.
tomorrow for the CO, yeah.
But
Any other discussion on this motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart? Aye. Lynn?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Roy?
Aye.
Erwin?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you. And we have 2 invoices also for under the RTU Laser project, both from NV5. The first is for July and August 2025 commissioning at Elliott in the amount of $710.10. The second is for July and August 2025 commissioning for Broadmeadow in the amount of $3,452.42 for a total of $4,162.52. We'll group them together as a single motion. The chair will so move. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Thank you, George. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to the roll call vote. Stuart? Aye. Lynn?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Roy?
Aye.
Erwin?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you. And in terms of new business, other than the additional invoices, again, just want to reiterate that the next meeting of the committee will be actually as an SBC initially, and that will be on September 2nd. That will start at 7:15 PM, preceded by a school committee meeting at 6:30, at which the educational program will be voted. And at that point, then we will, once the school committee has adjourned, we will proceed to convene the PVBC/SBC meeting to vote the PDP for MSBA. So that's and then at that point, we will also take up the other items that are on our agenda for September 2nd.
Yeah.
Rodman?
At Broadmeadow, yeah.
So the school committee will be meeting in the performance space. They intend on their schedule, Pollard is the only topic. But because we're a smaller meeting, we will set up our meeting in the media center. Similar to what we did at one point with Sunita Williams. And we'll stop the full broadcast. The school committee will not only be on Zoom, it'll be broadcast on the Needham channel. PVBC will just be on Zoom.
So two questions. Well, one ask, one question. Question is, it's 7:15, if that conversation is still going on in school committee, do we break out or are we waiting until the school committee is finished?
I think we want to wait until the school committee is finished.
So, all right, then we need to make that
So-
known. The second thing is, I really ask is, school committee, I think is gonna need to be really prepped on what you're gonna cover, why you're covering it, what the outcome is, cause I can see it just bubbling. And I don't know,
For adoption.
well, now, yeah, if it's just for the educational program, boy, you guys figure it out, cause I can see it backlashing, and then I think in our meeting, question becomes. Is what are we talking about, because that can probably potentially bleed over.
Next week, so I'm not sure about Tuesday.
So I would highly recommend that we get really tuned about how, say what we're gonna say, say what we're gonna say, say what we're gonna say, and say what we said, and just be clear. I can see it, it's gonna brew. It's gonna be brutal,
Should.
and I hope it's not.
Well, I think the big question will be, in terms of time, is gonna be what happens in during public.
Well, I think, yeah, but I think one element right now is, and it's not just tonight, I've heard it, is that who's making decisions and we already made decisions, is this the preferred option? When in fact, really it's the educational program that needs to be articulated upon which we think these are the options to work with. And this is what we're proposing, but it ain't decided, and then, what's the process after that? Cause I think that's what we're gonna have to manage as a committee as we move past the PDP point. Is what are all the things that we're contending with, why we're contending with them, and where they fit into the puzzle? Otherwise, I think this will just accelerate into a lot of.
And I
Circus.
wonder if one of the preferred options, George and I were talking about this a while ago, should be the 7-8. Even though. With the ranking and other reasons, the new school 6 to 8 seems better, but. It might make sense to include that in the 3. Again, we haven't made a decision. But it might make sense to have those one to 3 at this stage.
At least if, I don't know, I haven't distributed this memo that I sent back to you on your question. whether
Yeah.
that'd be productive to share
Yeah.
with the committee,
Probably, I mean, with this committee or with this?
with this committee.
With this committee, I think it is productive.
Should we, some of us plan to attend the school committee meeting at 6:30?
Yeah, we're supposed to all, thank
If you can,
Yeah.
that would be
I-
helpful.
I thought that was going to be a joint meeting.
It's not because of the sequence of the votes and
There's nothing we're jointly voting on, as it
Right.
turns out,
I
but,
understand.
but I do think that. As much information as you all can gather from our meeting.
Yeah.
I think that will help, carry into your meeting.
Well, our responsibility that evening is to vote the submission,
Right.
not to make decisions. That's your job.
Yes, I
It's
understand.
it's really not the PVBC, it's really the school building committee.
Right.
That's,
But I mean-
that's making that second vote, if you will.
We're on that school building committee.
Right.
So Lisa, when the school committee adjourns, then you'll join us at our appointed spot for our meeting. Okay.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
and maybe the multitude will come with you.
My understanding from the architects is that they believe that the MSBA is going to wanna see the ad reno as one of the options.
It's true.
Yeah. And so then I think it, you know, if we only get three, I think everything will be carried through, and I did like Tina's explanation towards the end, which gave me a little bit of clarity that, you know, things continue to evolve, and so then you say like, yeah, it turns out it's never gonna work to do X, Y, and Z option, and so we're not gonna do that, we're gonna study these three instead. And so there is some swapping out of options that can happen. But yes, we will make sure that the committee has the information that they need and has done the pre-thinking, so to speak, so that that can be a productive conversation.
I think it's critical that we make sure that, for example, we don't submit something that says our three favorite options are all 6 through 8. Because if you do that, then essentially you've said, I'm not in favor of any 7 to 8. I think we've got to leave the options open, but that's my opinion.
Based on what? Like what? Because one of the things that is challenging about this sequence is that I and the school committee don't have a chance to hear the opinions of this group. I mean, we're hearing a lot of other opinions. You know, there's very little, I think, both fiscally and for the benefit of the town and for the benefit of the educational program that makes 7th and 8th a better option. So I guess I would be interested to know what's driving your recommendation of that.
I think you're hearing that people like the High Rock as a 6th grade school. And
But High Rock is a 6th grade school. I mean, we've done
Yeah,
service, frankly, by hiding the deficiencies at High Rock.
that's correct.
The High Rock school, you know, kids start eating lunch at,
what's the downside of?
10 o'clock in the morning.
But I think the options are on the table, and I think that one thing I think it's not clear to me, but it is clear to me, but I may be wrong. This committee is not the one to recommend.
Right.
It's to basically make a potentially voice an opinion based on the facts that we receive and are asked to evaluate. School committee says the education program. The town says we have this set of locations to work with. Town says you have X amount of money to work with, or you don't have any money, but tell us what's the big option. So I wanna be careful. This is the other thing that I've seen over the years is that everybody thinks that we're the deciding committee. we can influence. We will decide at the right sequence at the end where it says we're asked to stamp it. So I think that, you know, putting a 6, 7, 8, or saying we have to have this option with it is, I think, just clearly saying, listen, there's some options. But, and it helps MSBA, because I know we've been through that process and it's good to be open, but I just want to be careful. I don't think we are in any point of making any recommendation. I don't think in this point in the process, again, to repeat myself, I don't think as a committee, we're saying that's finality. It's the education program. So I don't think it's worth even going into all the options. They're there. There's 7 of them there. There's nobody going to now, if you guys choose as a school committee, and I think Mr. Sheriff, we decide that we're gonna actually stamp it, that's another equation. But I don't think we're there. That's not what your place.
Bob. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to chime in on several people's comments, especially Stewart's, that I'm hearing that I think one of our jobs, and correct me if I'm wrong, those of you who've been on this committee longer, but it's about messaging and helping people understand the process. You know, I know we did Sunita Williams, but not everybody's familiar with MSBA and who decides what and when. And for example, the wonderful colored chart that the architects put together, I think people latch onto that, and it's natural. I get that. But we need to make it clear who made those 0, 1, 2, or 3 choices. You know, we hired a professional firm to do that based on their expertise. I think we have to keep reiterating that we didn't fill those numbers out necessarily. And, you know, we use that information. We're not wedded to it necessarily. It's another data point. And I think I'd just like to echo Stuart's comments. Part of our job, I feel, in my opinion, is messaging and process. And every time we talk about something, and we heard it tonight when people were really asking us very good questions about who decides what and when. And the more we can do that for our, you know, fellow townspeople, I think the better. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, I've passed out this memo when Elisa asked the
Elizabeth, do you
question.
have this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It was sent to me
I just want to
originally.
make sure everybody
Thank
has
you.
what.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
That if 7 and 8 is chosen as the preferred direction, it has impacts on all other school projects. And may well have impacts on other townwide projects. As I looked at that, there are 3 scenarios that could evolve from that, depending upon whether Pollard is selected to go at Pollard or whether it's selected to go at DeFazio. As I stated earlier, regardless of what direction you go on a 7th and 8th, something will have to be constructed at DeFazio, be it temporary modular classrooms or permanent school. And that was the whole reason for reserving the space in 2016 and the jurisdictional swap that occurred. To do what we're currently showing on DeFazio will require another jurisdictional swap by those 3 bodies.
But to my point, and I'm sorry to keep us longer, Mr. Chair, but I think this is something we have to grapple with. Is that for us to make that determination, or is that for the school committee and the town to have made the decision about the jurisdictional? So I get what we're saying here, and we are understanding and know the complexities and the trade-offs of what these options are doing. My question is more towards, okay, do we have to go out and publicize that, or is that somebody else's responsibility to make sure they're clarifying those options and those impacts outside of what we do in this committee meetings?
We're mute on that, I think.
We're
mute on that.
okay, so that, thank you. That's, I just want to make sure.
We're mute on that. It's not our job.
Okay, because this is where I think this is going. This group right now is going to thinking that we're the ones kind of whittling this jurisdictional stick. I may be stretching it, but I do believe that a lot of people think that this meeting is the one that's starting to maneuver everything. And all we are is trying to facilitate it and
provide
the insight and the input. And it's so important we get that. So I think, Hank, it's so important to understand this and understand for the working committee to understand the trade-offs and the school committee to trade off. But I want to be to the very point of Bob saying, I believe it too. We've got to put it in the right context.
this has to be communicated to the general public.
Yeah, but it's not us.
I'm not
yeah.
saying it's us, I'm saying we got a sense that that there was sort of an objection of where we're heading.
Yeah.
Even though I just say we're not making a decision, but if you read this, it's pretty compelling. Why you're not gonna go with why have it as preferred option?
Would that be something to go on the website?
Yeah, I wanted to have you review it. This was this morning's
Yeah. Yeah. And
head scratching.
I think, this is where, you know, as a school committee member, we've been talking about the school master plan and thinking about 7th and 8th versus 6th, 7th and 8th. And what the ramifications are for the rest of the school plan. I think the piece of information that the school committee has and people that have come to school committee meetings, which is, they're kind of boring, let's be honest, is the deficiencies at High Rock. And what will be needed at High Rock, no matter what, if we do 7th and 8th.
That has to be articulated.
And I think so it is on, I mean, that is this week's featured FAQ. I don't know if you all are getting, like, is everybody getting the newsletter? The first weekly newsletter went out today. I encourage you to sign up. The website is up and running and has been reorganized for a little bit of ease of use to find some of the master plan information. I encourage you to take a look. But yes, this is a PR challenge, and you know, every week a new group tunes in. So, you know, I have said to Hank and Meryl, I think every time we talk about this, you know, boards have no memory, like people that, even the school committee has no memory. Every time we talk about this, we need to go back and talk about the master plan, talk about, and I think spend some time on Tuesday talking about the deficiencies at High Rock and part of what is driving that as well. And I'm happy to, I don't know who's doing the presentation, but I'm happy to partner with and figure out who that should be.
Well, certainly, HMFH can be present for both meetings.
Yeah.
And, that sounds like it'll be an important part.
Yes.
And that.
Yeah.
I have also sent a text to town manager to see if we could accelerate the, chairs meeting to next week.
I mean, it would literally have to be Tuesday, right? Because Monday's challenge.
No,
Monday's or Labor Day.
Labor.
Yeah.
Is the expectation at the joint meeting that Hank, you and Meryl are presenting this with the architects? Or is this the school committee presenting to themselves the information?
I think it's primarily the school committee talking about the education program.
You're talking about the chairs meeting, or you're talking about Tuesday nights?
Tuesday night's meeting.
Tuesday night's meeting, the school committee is voting the educational program, which we had an in-depth conversation about. Talking about a lot of the deficiencies at High Rock, last Wednesday. And I think it's becoming clear that we need to have a conversation about some preferred, like 3 preferred options. My understanding was that all 7 options were.
Well, but
going
there's 2
to
different
be
things here.
evaluated.
There's the educational program.
Yeah.
Okay, then there's the overlay of that on, or there's the options and kind of the overlay of what shapes. So are you presenting those 7 options that we discussed tonight as part of that
The
discussion?
school committee has seen those 7 options.
But in the
multiple
meeting, though,
times.
in that joint meeting, public meeting.
So I think that we will probably see a presentation very similar to what we've
Oh,
seen tonight.
that's not the program, that's
as a
just
recap.
how the program would be implemented in a facility.
Right. Yeah.
But is that cause I guess I'm a little confused about. I thought tonight's discussion, which was about the facility aspect of, with only 1 page of high level educational drivers.
Yes.
And I think everybody's fixated on the physical plant on which that program would operate. But I'm hearing that the educational programming is the discussion on the joint committee.
Well, that's the vote that is needed for the
Which is a
submission.
separate plan than we saw tonight.
No,
The educational program
Correct.
is what the school committee,
I know, but that's
Is
not,
that
this is
blue
not an educational
underneath?
program.
no.
This is the
Is that the
facility.
100-page?
That-
right?
Yeah.
So
That
this
other-
is what we
yeah.
talked
It's a
about.
huge document.
This
Right,
is-
yeah,
this is
yeah,
what
that's why I
we-
just wanna be clear.
Yeah, this is what
That
we
plan
talked
is what
about
you're gonna
for
talk
over an
about.
hour.
So when does this portion come up?
So that will also be, because I think we need to give you all our, it sounds like our
Your recommendation.
preferred options.
Okay, so this will be part of it.
Yes,
So my question, sorry, I apologize, but swinging back. So are you two presenting it? Or are we gonna turn to the architects to present this? Or are you guys gonna present it yourself?
I think it probably needs to be a combination of, I think it needs to be multi-part, because I think it's important to cover high rock deficiencies again.
Yeah.
And to go through again, the 7 options. So that we can have a conversation about the 3 preferred. I do. I will not speak for my colleagues, but I will say that we have considered as part of the master planning process, 7, 8 and 6, 7, 8, and on 3 different occasions have said that 6, 7, and 8 is the preferred because it solves all of the master plan issues at the cheapest cost and the quickest
Right,
resolution.
makes sense. I think it's gonna be really important. Really important. That as we pivot into the facilities, that the facilities are a presentation of based on the needs and what has been there. Versus PVC, the building committee, the school building committee is saying, here's what you have. It's just, hey, here's your platter to choose your menu to choose from. Then you guys have to put it in the context of what you understand and what you like and not like against your educational program. I just believe strongly that we are ad nauseum, a complex project, and if we don't do this right, oh, what a nightmare. I mean, just the presentation, right? Cause there's already confusion on a smaller footprint.
Yeah.
Much smaller footprint.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a big believer in this one, in terms of how to present it. So good luck.
And our meeting following that is essentially to say, we've got this document, this PDP, and we're submitting it to.
Yeah.
And we have to approve that as a building code.
Yeah, I mean, I think our meeting will be okay, but it could bleed in, it could be, that's what I mean, I think it's a really just clear, simple message. I don't know, it's Dan? Well, Dan's, you'll be talking to Dan.
Yes, I'm meeting with him tomorrow.
Oh,
All right, very good. Well,
Sorry.
thank you. No, I think we've we've certainly laid down the issues that we'll have to deal with on September 2nd. Thank you all very much for that. Just one final note on the in terms of new business on a kind of a happy note. We got a thank you note from Kate Fitzpatrick on her stationery. Very Kate is the stationery. And it says, hello, PBBC members and BCD staff. Thank you so much for the watercolor. Just as a parenthetical, you'll recall that at her retirement party, we presented to Kate a watercolor. Again, we weren't allowed to be on stage, so they had a very scripted and time sensitive presentation and program. But we did provide a gift to Kate in the collection of gifts that were bestowed upon her. And this is a watercolor of Town Hall that Hank had beautifully painted. So it was really gorgeous work of art. So she writes, thank you so much for the watercolor. TM project list on the back made me so happy. We certainly were in a building boom during my tenure, exclamation mark. I appreciate that many of you were able to celebrate with me, wishing you best and a successful Pollard outcome, exclamation mark. So that was from Kate Fitzpatrick. Thank you very much, Kate, wherever you are, and appreciate the very kind comments, and thank you and gratitude. Anything else for new business before we wrap up? I'm flying out early tomorrow morning to San Francisco, so I really need to wrap up. So,
I can sleep on the plane the whole night.
right.
Yeah,
So, anything else we can?
that's a 6 hour, that's a
Okay.
6 hour nap. You're all
Great,
good.
okay, very good, thank you. In that case, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you very much, Bob, appreciate it.
I wasn't gonna take it away from you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Stuart. Actually, I said there's discussion, but I'm sure there's no discussion.
Aye.
Thank you, Lynn,
I.
Bob,
Aye.
George,
I,
Roy has already departed, Erwin, and the chair votes aye. Thank you, we stand adjourned.
And for the
Thank you.
record, Mr. Chair, I'll see you in person for the next meeting.
Okay.